What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Give and Go podcast. This is the show where we give our hot takes and go about our day. I'm your host, Rashawn Bates, and I'd like to introduce you to my two guests.
I'm Dan Berman.
I'm Joe McCarr.
So, picking up where we left off again, we're talking about the standings. I don't feel like going back and talking about what we just talked about, so we're going to go off from Houston and Utah.
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. So, like I said, I'm going to say Utah is going to pull off, maybe, as some people would say, an upset over Houston in 7. I think just the ISO ball doesn't work out too much in the playoffs. I like more of that spacing. I think Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Joe Ingles is going to be enough to take down. I don't think Westbrook and Harden will be able to maybe coexist as well as people think in the playoffs. So we'll see. But I see Utah in 7.
Also got Bojan Bogdanovic, and then
Good point, Bogdanovic too.
depending on how he's playing, this year hasn't been great, but ultimately Conley, come playoff time, is usually different.
Yeah.
Well, both of you, no. Houston's been giving Utah a lot of problems in the regular season. Gobert can't guard Westbrook because that's the switch that they want to get, and Gobert ultimately, as good as a rim protector he can't guard smaller guards and faster point guards, and I think Westbrook's going to give it to them. And the small ball thing seems to be working. It really does. But we're going to see it come postseason time, but it's really working. I think Russ, I read a statistic, and it says that he's shooting about 13 drives a game and is shooting 67.8% on those drives.
Yep.
So
We'll
like
see,
Houston's doing.
right?
I
We'll
think they'll
see.
win in 6
PJ
games.
Tucker at her center. We'll see about that.
I gotta go with-
Houston's been playing better at
But
center.
Covington was a huge pickup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's
So,
averaging. I read too. He's averaging 3 blocks since he came there in the 9 games they played.
Yep.
So obviously just gonna go down maybe like 1.5, maybe 2 a game, but he
Yeah.
is defending the rim at whatever height he's at right now.
Big pickup.
Yeah,
Big pickup.
huge.
Yep.
I'm going to say the Rockets win that series in 6 or 7, and I do like the Jazz,
Mhm.
but I think the Rockets have just the talent alone to get them past that first round series. I think second round is where they seriously stumble into some problems.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
I think Mike Conley's just too washed for for this postseason run. He's been playing horrible for Utah.
But he's very capable of turning it up at any moment.
I agree.
I really hope so. I really do, because they're gonna need that defender. Like he's one of the best defensive guards in the league, but
Yeah.
like, he needs to pick it up on offense.
Mhm.
So that brings us to the East, first round. Don't even need to talk about Bucks and Brooklyn. I know I'm sorry to talk about your Nets, but
I'm going to say Bucks in 4. If the Nets get lucky and make the 7th seed, I say they give Toronto 5, but Bucks in 4.
I say Toronto in 4 for that. But yeah, obviously Milwaukee in 4. They're on pace to win 70 games. Giannis is unanimous MVP. It's curtains for the rest of the league. Sorry, but
Yeah, I agree. Don't think we have to keep going about that one. Bucks in
one's
4 easily.
unanimous.
But
so yeah, Toronto in Orlando.
see, that one's interesting. This was a series last year as well.
And
First
Orlando
round, right?
took a game.
And Orlando took one,
In Toronto, I believe, if I'm
With Kawhi
correct.
on the team.
and yeah. So you know what? I'm still gonna say Toronto. Toronto in 6. I'm gonna say. But I do think Orlando's really improving. Obviously, it seems like every team, there's always a former Sixer, and Fultz is one of them. So,
Then they have Carter Williams, too.
and now Carter Williams, like you said. So,
Orlando, land of Sixers rejected point guards.
yeah, it's been
Awkward.
they've been travelers. They have traveler point guards, but yeah, I like the experience of Toronto definitely for 6 games in that one.
I think I'm gonna go with Toronto in 5, just because
I am, too.
they have that experience. Even without Kawhi, they're still a deep team, and if they get Marcus All back, it's just gonna make more problems for Orlando. I'm a huge Vucevic fan, and I think he's gonna put up numbers, but the loss of what's his face, Jonathan Isaac, right? Yeah,
Yep.
he was a great defender for them.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, you said the same thing for you?
I'm going to go with Raptors in 5. I think the Magic get lucky, steal one game in their
Mhm.
home, but
Gotcha.
Next, Boston, Indiana.
it's going to be interesting.
I like that. Let's see, what would I say? I'll say Boston in 5. Boston's very, very tough. If you ever watch them occasionally, their defense is superb. then they're really, really coached well. They probably have one of the top coaches in the league. So, and they're actually doing all this, if you've watched, past couple weeks, without Kemba Walker. So, they're extremely tough once they get him back in the playoffs. I think their defense is elite. And even though Indiana will be getting, I guess, Oladipo, Boston just has too much now with Tatum and Brown uprising. I like their team a lot, coached well, and I like them in 5 for the first round.
I'm also going to go with Boston in 5 because Oladipo hasn't been playing as well as he could have been coming back from injury.
Right.
Obviously, the injury was significant and did a lot of damage to his body. But they also just lost Jeremy Lamb. And that was a huge guy off the bench.
Yeah, good call.
He's an automatic bucket. I'm a huge Sabonis fan, but Boston is too deep.
Too deep. Yeah.
And they have too much offense in their starting 5 to lose in the even 6 games. I'd go with 5.
Yep.
I can see the series lasting 5 or 6 games, but I'm gonna go with Celtics in 5 because I don't know how I
You're gonna
trust.
say Pacers in like 6. I'm like,
The
No.
way he slowed it down. Nah, you good.
Because I don't know how I trust Indiana's depth.
Right.
Their starters, no question, elite players. Miles Turner,
Forgot about him.
Sabonis, Oladipo, Aaron Holiday is pretty good too. T.J. Warren,
Yeah. No
very
good
underrated
Philly
player.
guy.
Yep, another guy.
But at the same time, I don't know how I like their ability to put it all together in the playoffs, especially against a Boston team
Right.
that's really just been clicking lately.
Well, for the East, their bottom 4 does not matter, unfortunately. But that leads us to Miami and Philadelphia.
I guess I'll start this one off. I'm the Sixers fan, I guess, on the panel. No. I'll be biased on this one,
Oh,
but
Jesus Christ.
I will. But I'm gonna say Sixers take it.
In how many games?
6. Sixers in 6. I'm gonna say they lose both road games, and they're gonna have to. Let's see. They're gonna have to win. Obviously, 2 road games. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say they do. Once Simmons and Embiid get back, I'm gonna say they get it. I know it's gonna be tough. Jimmy Butler's gonna pour it on us, like we gave away, but I think we're gonna come together. I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people in the playoffs, and we're gonna get rid of all this Embiid and Simmons together slander, and we're gonna make it happen in 6. Now I'm sure these guys won't agree, but we will see.
I hope to God that this matchup happens because I do not want Indiana to move to the 5th seed because I want Miami and Philly in the first round. That's going to be electric.
Yeah, electric.
With that being said, I have Miami taking the series in 7 games, bearing if Embiid and Simmons comes back healthy. If they don't come back, it's good.
Well, then that's a huge
It's-
different story. Yeah, that's lights
light
out. Yeah, Jimmy Butler to the cup.
But I think Jimmy Butler's going to come to Philly with vengeance.
Yeah.
Philly's been the worst road team.
That's
in the NBA
true.
this season.
That's true.
So they're not going to. I guarantee they don't take 1 game on the road, which is why I think Miami's going to bang it out in this series.
Right.
I'm going to go with Heat in 6. But at the same time, if the Sixers manage to win this series, I'm not going to be surprised.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
I was just being
Ultimately,
nice.
I had the Sixers as a conference final team. Now I'm not so sure about it, but if they could manage to steal that series, I would not be too surprised. The only thing is, I want to see how Adebayo matches up against Embiid. That's going to be a really tough matchup for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Miami will go zone against the Sixers because obviously Eric Spoelstra's a defensive juggernaut and he knows how to make his defensive schemes and he's going to conjure up something for Embiid and Simmons. I guarantee you that. It's going to make it very difficult for them to score, especially since they lack outside shooting. So.
Here's something to keep in mind, too. While the Heat aren't a young team, they have players who have little to no experience in the playoffs whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick Nunn has not played a playoff minute, if I'm correct.
Yep, Tyler Hero has not
played a playoff minute. Adebayo played last year. Okay, he's got a little experience.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson.
But then you got Jimmy.
You got
and
Jimmy,
Iggy,
yep.
Jay Crowder.
And they have that
It's a
Myers
nice
Leonard
balance.
experience.
Myers Leonard,
Yeah. So
Good stretch big.
Olynyk.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. He played big a couple seasons ago.
and Dragic off the bench.
Yeah. Right.
Ooh,
You're
huge.
absolutely-
That's huge.
Miami in 6.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. Miami in 6. I'm sorry.
Dragic off the bench.
Miami in
so
6.
that's where the depth goes
You
deeper.
heard it here first.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
All right, round 2. You want to go round 2 for the West?
Let's
or
do it.
East?
I guess since we'll
Start with the West.
Start with
since
the
we
West,
went to
yeah.
So, who do we say? So, Lakers and What?
Rockets, would that be?
I think it'd be Clippers, right? Or no?
No, because the way it works is the 1 usually
Right.
plays the 4 or 5.
Okay,
Right.
then, yeah, Lakers
then
and
the-
Rockets.
Lakers
the 2,
and Rockets.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess what did I said Jazz, so I'll be the one to say Lakers and Jazz, and I'll say Lakers. Obviously, Lakers. I'll go 4. I'm gonna say they sweep the Jazz. Lakers. I won't spoil it yet, but you'll hear my decision later on who wins the championship. Hint, hint. But Lakers sweep the Jazz.
Oh, so if it was the Jazz, I also
Right.
think not a sweep, but they. The Lakers bench concerns me, and
Me too.
Utah is too good defensively to get swept. So I say the Lakers in
Okay.
6.
Okay.
Because LeBron and AD are just gonna be too dominant. Because Utah has 0 people who can guard LeBron in the wing.
Yep.
Absolutely no one.
True.
If it's Lakers Jazz, I'd go with Lakers in 6.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Lakers Rockets, I'll go with Lakers in 5. Now, I have the Rockets winning that first round series. I just think the Jazz with their size match up better against the Lakers with their size. So, with that being said, what is the verdict? Are we going with Lakers Rockets?
Yeah.
Is that the series?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
I would have to say Lakers over Rockets in 5. Just because I think a 6'9" Covington could only get you so far before he has to play the likes of 6'11" Anthony Davis, 6'11" Dwight Howard, 7-foot JaVale McGee.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I was watching that Boston game last Sunday. They ended up escaping with the win, but there were times they could not rebound that ball. And this is against a Celtics team. Picture against a team that plays LeBron, Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee as their front court. I think they'll struggle getting rebounds. So if they're not hitting their shots immediately, I think it brings up some troubles. And I think Harden's flaw, and yes, a lot of people point out defense, it's always been his shot selection. I'm not a fan of that step back 3. I think that,
Really?
in my opinion, that is the worst shot in basketball.
Really?
It is the toughest shot in basketball. He happens to make it, yes, but we've seen it's not sustainable. And which is why come playoff time, when teams know what the game plan is, I think they're going to crank down on it. And I think ultimately the Lakers would take it over the Rockets. 5 or 6, but I'll go with 5 games.
Well, being the James Harden fanboy that I am, I'm very conflicted. Obviously, I don't think that the Lakers are going to lose to the Rockets in the playoffs. Not happening whatsoever.
You have the Rockets over the Lakers?
Oh, no, not at all. I like
No.
Lakers winning.
Oh, okay.
But how many games is what I'm trying to figure out because
I'll give that one 6.
how much the Rockets shoot the ball and how consistently they slang threes and rain threes all game long is going to be problematic for the Lakers because of their 5-out offense. It's going to cause Dwight to be on the perimeter. It's going to cause JaVale to be out on the perimeter.
It's true, which opens up driving lanes for Westbrook and Harden.
Who, again, is shooting 67% on 13 attempts per game, driving into the paint. He's going to be dominant in that series. But I think that AD is just going to give too much of a problem to the Rockets. They're too small, unfortunately. And AD is a different kind of big. He's going to make mismatches all over the floor. And LeBron's smart enough to feed him the ball every time on the floor. He averages about 5 assists to him per game already. So it's going to be upped in the playoffs come playoff time. So I think I'll just go with 6 games. Just being a fanboy that I am.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So next round, what would that be?
That would be Clippers
right.
and...
Clippers and
Nuggets?
Dallas? Or no, Clippers and
Because usually it's the 2-3 play each other.
Right,
Okay. So I guess the verdict is what, Clippers, and we'll say Denver. All right. So that's a tough series. Me and Rashawn actually I think Dallas would win, but we'll say Denver. So I say that's a tough series, but I'm going to go obviously Clippers. Clippers, like we said, 10-man deep. I'd have to say, let's see, I'd say give Denver a game. We'll go 5 there. Clippers in 5 there for the second round. Just too much. Who's going to be guarding Kawhi? Denver to have anybody to guard Kawhi. Paul George, there you go. So, and like I said, the bench is obviously in more depth, though. We'll say Clippers in 5.
Clips in 5. Enough said. Joe, back to you.
I'm going to say Clippers in 5 because that Denver's defense concerns me a little. And it's not like it's not elite. It's come playoff time. How is Jokic going to guard Harrell, who's way more athletic than him?
Same
Who's
with
guarding
Paul
Kawhi?
Millsap.
Yeah, as you said.
He's old.
Paul George. Shamit's going to get open looks. You know that for a fact.
Yep.
Reggie Jackson, they have, who could
We
facilitate.
didn't even talk about Lou Williams.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Lou
Didn't even
Williams.
mention him. Didn't even mention him. Could be a starter, any team.
The disrespect, yeah.
I just had a brain blast. Wow. Yeah.
And then you have Lou to just come in and bam, bam, bam.
Clippers
You know,
in
it's
5
like
games.
Clippers in 5
It's
easy,
a
right?
joke.
I agree.
So,
So
moving
that
on.
being Back to the East.
Back to the East. All right.
Milwaukee and what? Miami?
Miami.
Sixers.
What do we say? Sixers?
Yeah.
All right.
Milwaukee and Miami.
We'll say Miami because, all right, so we'll say Milwaukee, Miami. Now that's tough because,
Is it really?
I don't think it is, but
well, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that Miami Heat did make moves to get more physical. All right, because that's their motto. Okay, they went after Crowder and Iguodala.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and they like to get more physical. But
You're irking me. I'm trying to hear this.
obviously, Milwaukee's still going to win the series, but it is going to be entertaining. Miami's very physical, and they can play that type of physical game that the Bucks do. I'm going to say Bucks in 6. I like Heat. I like the Heat. I think they have more depth than they did last year, obviously, and we'll see what happens. But Milwaukee in 6, Giannis is too much.
I agree.
Yep.
And I'm trying to decide whether I want them at 5 or 6. because
Same here.
Give Heat that leisure.
I love Jimmy Butler. He's
Yeah.
such a stud.
Yeah.
The Miami Heat team are just studs.
Yep.
But I'm going to be respectful.
Okay.
I want to give Eric Spoelstra some credit in
Yep.
throwing up defensive schemes. And I'm going to give the Bucks in 6 games.
All right.
Because they're probably going to play zone again.
Yep.
Because Giannis, even though he's shooting 31% from outside, he's not going to shoot consistently out there.
he's shooting better from 3.
'Cause he's
But here's
chucking
my
it.
take: you still need to give it to him
Yeah.
because
Right.
if not, he's gonna drive in.
Yeah.
And you live with your less than 1 in 3 odds of him making the 3 compared
Right,
to him
right, right.
bulldozing in the paint.
Yep.
So for that reason, I'm gonna say Bucks in 6 also.
Mhm.
That comes Boston and Toronto.
That will be the series for the East. That's because, first of all, that's probably one of the biggest teams that match up the best in the
I
East. And now with Kemba coming back, you're going to see Lowry versus Kemba. You're going to see Siakam in there versus Tatum. We got some really great matchups going on. So that could be a 7-game series. And I believe, and obviously Toronto won it last year. But this year, they did lose Kawhi, and that's a huge difference. So I'm going to go
Huge.
with the defense of Boston winning that game. And Boston takes it in 7 this year.
I say Boston's offense wins them this series.
Okay,
And
okay.
7 games as well. Because Toronto, they don't have a star anymore. They're a deep team with good players. I think Pascal Siakam is one of the top 20 players in
Rising
the
star.
league.
Yeah.
I think he's amazing, but he's not the star caliber player that Kawhi Leonard is.
Right.
With that being said, Boston has 2 stars. They have Jason
Yep.
Tatum uprising now,
Mhm.
and Kemba Walker, who will be phenomenal in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I
He will-
agree.
He will be a stud.
He will be.
'Cause no point guard can guard him. Literally, 1-on-1, he cannot be guarded.
Yep.
He's too fast. His handle's too crazy. And he shoots better off the dribble from 3 than as great as Curry, as great as Dame. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous how good he gets a shot off the dribble, off a pick and roll. It's nuts. So I think Jaylen Brown is playing up to his contract, and I think Daniel Tice as well. He's playing great for them.
He is. He
Yeah,
really is.
He's been spacing the floor. He's been playing dominant inside. He's defending the rim.
Yep.
So, and have Ennis Cantor coming off the bench. Yeah, I'm going Boston in 7.
I'm gonna agree with both of you. I'm gonna say Celtics in 7. I think the Raptors make this series interesting though.
Yeah.
So you got Siakam, gonna put up in the playoffs at least 25 a night. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
You have Kyle Lowry. While he gets slandered a lot and understandably, come playoff time, he was huge for them in the playoffs last year
He was huge until the conference finals. The first 2 rounds.
when it really mattered most.
The first 2 rounds were again Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, and I was just slandering this man. If you remember.
You're right. Actually, the
again.
Magic series, he didn't play well.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I was like, he's doing it again. Really?
And then I like the team they're surrounding themselves with. So OG Anunoby just had a career game the other night. Ibaka,
Yeah.
great player for
Fred.
any team.
That's the
Fred
X factor.
VanVleet.
The Van Fleet. Yep.
Norman Powell.
Just physical.
Yeah. Honestly, the Raptors have like 3 guys who can give you 20. More than that, honestly. It's like surprise players too. They're like great.
Great players.
So it's gonna be a crazy series, but Boston has the Stars.
Yep.
And I'm going with the Stars. Always go with the Stars.
Same. That leads us to the conference finals.
All right.
For both conferences.
So I guess we'll
West
start
or
with
East?
West. We'll start with West. All right.
Lakers, Clippers.
Lakers, Clippers. Here we go. Now, earlier, you probably heard me say hint, hint. Everybody here probably will disagree, but it's cool. It's cool. They're all Clippers here, all Clippers. But I'm gonna say Lakers. Now here. I did say the Clippers were 10-man deep, and we all agree with that. But I think LeBron reminds you really who he is. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. I like. Now we'll get into it in a little bit, but they also have an open roster spot, so we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the Lakers over the Clippers in 7, and we're gonna see what these guys have to say with that. But
I'm gonna say Clippers in 7.
okay,
And here's why. As much as I'd prefer to see the Lakers in the finals, I think the Clippers get the nod ultimately.
yeah,
Because, as we talked about, 1, their depth, and 2, consider who's going to be guarding who.
Okay.
Either one of Kawhi or Paul George, probably Kawhi,
mm-hmm.
is going to be guarding LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
If you switch, it's either Paul George or Harrell.
Right.
If you switch again, it's Beverly,
Right.
who, while undersized compared to LeBron, still a very, very capable defender, could clamp down any point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the battle we've been waiting for since the offseason, last offseason. Ultimately, I say Clippers in 7. I think that depth is too much to go through. I'm a little skeptical about the Lakers and how they didn't really make any major moves at the deadline. I think they need another primary ball handler.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Davis needs to stay healthy, which has been kind of a concern lately. And that bench is a little reason for concern. So while the Lakers have the better stars, without a doubt, I think the Clippers are just by far the better team.
And on that note, I'm going to say that the Clippers win this in 6 games. Because, like Joe said, bench is too deep. They're going to give... The Lakers don't have a bench. Well, they do have a bench, but they're not great. They're extremely, extremely inconsistent. It's laughably inconsistent. Rondo is playing the worst basketball of his career. Danny Green's been inconsistent. And I think the Clippers just have too much firepower. And I think the matchup between the Morris twins is going to be hilarious to watch. Literally just 2 dogs giving it to each other. But I have the Clippers winning the 6 games because of how star-studded their team is compared to the Lakers. Even though, like you said, the Lakers stars are better than the Clippers 2 stars, but not by that much. Because Kawhi is like right there with LeBron, and Paul George, bearing injury, obviously, is right there with Anthony Davis. And AD is obviously better, but
I think Paul George is a step below Davis, in my opinion. I'd probably put Paul George in that, maybe, if I'm feeling generous, 8 to 10 at most.
Mm-hmm.
Probably he's a top 15 player, I'd say.
Oh, he's top 10 for me. I think Paul George is nasty. I think when he's healthy, my God, Paul George.
When he's hitting, he's hitting. It's just the level of inconsistency I've seen is a little reason for concern.
Because he's been kind of hurt. He got his.
And I understand but come playoff time, that's going to be the real test of when it really
I
matters.
agree.
Yep. I agree.
So
with
for
you.
the East, Milwaukee and Boston. What
All
say
right.
you?
All right. Let's see. So we covered the defense for Boston, and we said Giannis is too much. So there you go. That's kind of the storyline. But the Bucks will win in 7. The Bucks will win in 7 over the Celtics. The Celtics will give them a big fight. I like Boston in the playoffs is a big powerhouse to get through, but Milwaukee has been the powerhouse of the league this whole year, and they will take it in 7 over Boston. I don't think they have enough to cover Giannis, and Middleton has been playing really well for Milwaukee, as well as Bledsoe's holding his own, and I like Milwaukee's bench. Don't forget about Connaughton. These
Kyle
guys,
Korver,
Brooke Lopez and Robin Lopez, are both out here hitting threes.
Robin
Robin makes them, just not as high a clip.
Okay.
He can still make it.
Don't forget Wesley
yeah.
Matthews too, and plays for,
Wesley Matthews.
plays for, Brogdon.
And they signed Marvin Williams.
Marvin Williams. So, yeah.
So
getting deeper. So we'll see what these guys have to say, but I'm going to say Bucks in 7.
here's the hot take: Bucks in 5.
Bucks in 5. Wow.
Because if you think of last year, they also won last year in 5 games, and this Boston roster is not too much different than last year's roster. Bearing you swap Kyrie for Kemba, that's a little bit interchangeable. Same kind of player, same play style.
And Horford.
They lost Horford. They lost Marcus Morris.
Mm-hmm. With that being,
Some big losses there.
Yep. And Cantor can't defend me, so there's that. How's he gonna stop any of their bigs? Is the big question. Even though Tice has been playing great, he's gonna be a problem for Giannis.
Yep.
Yeah, Giannis is gonna give it to him. So I have the Bucks in 5.
All right.
And I'm going to say Bucks in 6. I think that series is a little more competitive than you think, but at the same time, I don't think it goes all the way.
Okay.
Because I feel like, yes, Boston is an up-and-coming team. They have a good mix of young players and, like, proven talent and, like, Kemba and Tice and all that. But I feel like this is where they plateau. They're not quite a finals team yet.
Mm-hmm.
So while they make the series competitive, and in my mind, they probably solidify themselves this season as the second-best team in the East, I think the Bucks will take that series in 6.
I think it's gonna be a close series. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that Milwaukee's gonna play better down the stretch. They're gonna win down in the stretch, and they're just gonna win the 5 games. Nothing against Boston. It's just Milwaukee's too good.
I agree.
So we'll see.
That takes us to the NBA Finals.
NBA Finals, Clippers and Bucks. What say you, Joe?
It's a tough one.
I think it's the best matched up team.
This one is tough to predict.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, Clippers in 7. I think this matchup is going to be one we talk about, if it happens, for a very long time. Just star power on top of star power. Kawhi versus Giannis, 2 of the biggest names in the sport. And I think ultimately this series goes all the way. But I think the Clippers take it. But something to keep in mind, the Clippers would not have home court advantage. The Bucks would have home court advantage. They'll probably approach 70 wins, if not like 68 or so. So how do you like the Clippers' ability to get a win in Milwaukee if it were to go 7 games? Now, I think they could do it, but at the same time, that's not an easy task.
I think it all depends on how well Paul George plays. He's my X factor for the Clippers because playoff P is a thing, and he picks and chooses when to show up, and it's all bearing his health. And I think he and Kawhi will be a little overbearing for the Bucks, despite their size they have on them, because the Clippers are big too. Like they have a huge starting lineup. People forget Paul George is 6'9", playing the 2. You know, he came in the league as a 2, so I think he's playing his perfect position along with Kawhi. So
their 2 guard would be the same height as the Rockets center. Think about that.
Exactly. So. And then Montrezl Harrell's a beast.
Yep.
I think Brook Lopez, however, is going to give him problems, as well as Giannis, maybe. But I think the Clippers are going to win this in 6 games.
I'm going to say either if it's the Clippers or the Lakers against the Bucks. I'm going to say Bucks in 6. I like the Bucks this year. I just think Giannis is on a tear, obviously. It's just been kind of the way the league has been swinging this year with their, like, the way up team, so I'm going to take the Bucks. Although I like the Clippers better than the Lakers against them, but we'll see. Either of the West California teams against the Bucks, watch out for the Bucks in 6.
So speaking of the Lakers, I know they have one more roster spot open and available, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hand it over to me? All right, so what do we have? Between Dion Waiters, I believe they worked out Jamal Crawford, right? And who was the other one?
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith. All right, so if I had to pick one of those 3, I know a lot of the reports have been saying Waiters. For me, I would be going after Crawford. I'm a big Jamal Crawford fan. I know he's getting up there in age and maybe can't do as much, but he's still a reliable veteran in there that can give you help in the playoffs and still make some shots. I'm not a J.R. Smith fan.
What?
Yeah, I'm not a J.R. Smith fan.
Come on.
Dopey. I'm not into it. But he is a good player. He can hit some threes for you sometimes. But I'm more that Jamal Crawford fan. We'll see what these guys have to say about it.
Let me go?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to go with J.R. Smith.
All right.
And here's why. We all know what happened in 2018. But I'm not going to let that tarnish J.R.'s legacy because I'm a huge J.R. Smith fan. And out of the 3 of those players to pick from, he's the best defender. He can play.
He is.
He can play some defense, honestly. And when JR gets hot from 3, JR is scorching. I was watching some highlights of his over the course of the Cleveland years. He was pulling up from 3 and like fading away, step backs. When JR gets hot, he gets hot. So I think, despite what happened in the playoffs, in the finals, I think the Lakers are going to give him the contract.
This is tough for me, and I feel like there's not necessarily a wrong answer, but I'm in between J.R. Smith and Jamal Crawford right now. And let me tell you why I like both of them. I agree with your points, Rashawn, about J.R. Smith. He is the best defender of the 3. And when he is hot, he is hot. He is hitting from everywhere, hitting fadeaways from the corner.
Makes no sense.
The ideal shooter to put alongside LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Jamal Crawford is the best ball handler of the 3. And it's not debatable. And at the same time, while he's not a pure point guard, the Lakers kind of need an extra ball handler.
Well, ball handler and playmaker are different things.
True.
He can, create his own shot. But what the Lakers really need is another player who, when LeBron goes to the bench, can run their offense. Jamal Crawford isn't really like an offense runner, so
he could generate his own offense, though.
So can JR. So that's why I'm going with JR over Jamal Crawford, because he's the better defender.
I'm going to give the nod to JR for that reason, but I feel like if they decide to sign Jamal Crawford, that's not a mistake either.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't be mad. Just don't pick up waiters.
So
Please.
yeah,
LA,
I'll switch
don't
to
pick up
JR
waiters.
too.
I'm begging you. You don't need them.
Yeah, you don't need him. Yeah, I'll switch to JR too. I like the defensive point he made.
So we're gonna end this podcast off talking with the future of the league. I know you wanted to discuss Zion and his play.
So Zion has been on a tear lately, putting up historic numbers. He doesn't turn 20 until the offseason, I believe. Right. He's just a generational talent that we've never seen before. Like, I know everyone likes comparing him to LeBron. Mm-hmm. Him and LeBron are two different players, two completely different players. I see the similarities that people draw between them. LeBron's athletic, Zion's athletic, both highlight dunks, both phenoms coming out of high school at the time. They're two different players. LeBron is a complete all-around player. Zion is this immovable force who, for his age, for his size, for his skill set, we've just never seen anything like this before.
I think his skill set represents Charles Barkley more than anyone else. There's a lot of comparisons, like you said, between him and LeBron, but Chuck is literally Zion, but with, a bald head, because when Chuck gets to steam, people are getting out the way. Chuck was also undersized, playing power forward, and he was dominant, very, very dominant. He would have won a championship if Michael Jordan wouldn't have existed, but yeah.
If you remember Larry Johnson on the Charlotte Hornets, I think that's his best comparison. Go watch Larry Johnson highlights, and then you'll see so much of Zion in him.
Right.
So I guess talking about the future of the league.
First, talk about Zion, yep.
We'll talk about Zion. We got Ja Morant, and I guess we'll go Dallas with Luka. So I guess out of those three, if you could pick, who would you start a team with? That's tough. I'd probably... Right now, I'm going to say Zion. The reason why is Pelicans started out the year like just total trash. I mean, and now he's literally, as soon as he's came in, it's probably it's the reason why Redick signed here in the first place, was to be with Zion. And now they're literally carrying him almost, they could be in the playoffs where they're the 9th seed right now. So, they could very well be there all because of that one player. And although Ja Morant is a fantastic guard, a great talent, and so is Luka, but Zion to start the team, I think he's proven why. So,
I'm going to go with Luka.
All right.
That's what I'm starting my franchise with, because right now, Luka is averaging 29, 9, and 8.
Yep.
A near triple-double.
He
just turned 21 years old.
Just turned 20.
Second
21,
year in the league.
yep.
He is something else. The way he gets his own shot, the way he play makes. Obviously, you don't really need him to defend. You could build defenders around him, but I think he is the cornerstone of what you should build around, because he's a tall point guard who can pretty much do everything for you.
I'm going to say Luka as well, and here's why. I feel like I am a big fan of Zion and Ja both, but Luka does it all. Defense will get better over time, but Luka makes his team better, which is something to consider. Mm-hmm. He's averaging, like we said, a near triple-double and just turned 21 days ago. That's incredible. It's like stuff you've never seen before. when it's all said and done, I think Luka is going to be one of the greatest players of all time. Now, here's something to consider too. His injury history, granted it's early, is certainly a lot more promising than that of Zion. That's something to consider.
Yep.
And when it comes to like rising stars, I'd put Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, and Trae Young over John Morant. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
I put Morant.
What is over Trae Young and John Morant?
Trae Young over John Morant.
Trae Young. Okay. Yeah. I would agree.
In the second year, Trae Young is
At the
doing
moment,
things.
I put Trae over Ja. But you got to keep in mind, these players are at different points in their careers.
Right.
Trae Young last year and Ja this year were at about the same level. This year, however, I think it's Trae undisputed better than Ja. But Ja's still a rookie, so I say give him time to develop. In my opinion, you can't fully judge a player until about their fourth year in the league.
I don't know, because for me, that second half of Trae Young's rookie year was phenomenal. I think it's been more phenomenal than John Morant's whole year. But
I agree with that.
Despite, being a stud that he is, because he's literally John Morant comes out to violate people. He's trying to jump over people, he almost killed AD. He almost killed AD, he almost killed Kevin Love. I love me some John Morant, but I think he's top 5 for prospects.
I agree.
Yep. And that's going to be interesting, right, for the league, where are these players going to go, since they're on bad teams, or who's going to join them. We'll find out probably this summer with definitely, we didn't mention Bradley Beal for the Wizards, but he's also one of, the top stars, I guess you can say, that's on a bad team. He's probably one of the most underrated players. So
I agree.
We'll see what happens with that.
I think if John Wall was healthy, they're the 8th seed in the East.
Let's see.
Yeah.
They're like 3.5 games out. With a healthy John Wall, I think easily that team climbs over Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This year, at least.
Yep. Well, on that note, I think we're going to end off the podcast for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.